Hello, hello. So I'm obviously fired up because I did not wait for my hair to dry. I barely just put on clothes because I literally got in the shower and had this download of a message that just really needed to come through today. So you have probably heard me at some point before talk about crab bucket mentality, and it's this idea that we are conditioned, women especially, are conditioned into crab bucket mentality, and it's the idea that when you put all the crabs in a bucket or in a pot or whatever, they will actually climb over each other and pull each other and try to get out. And once a crab reaches the top, the other crabs will actually pull it back down. So women in so many ways are conditioned to treat each other this way, and it has always been on my radar, always something that I've wanted to really talk about and to really really be part of my messaging. And today is the first day that it was just it is clear I now need to really share this. So I've been having a lot of things really pop up for me lately, so I'm going to start with just a personal story where Beth and I actually talked about this. It's so wonderful having a partner who's woke, that we can have these types of conversations with, because Beth and I were having this conversation after I had an emotional moment where I literally gave my power away. So that's the other thing. We're also conditioned to really give our power away, and I'm going to say what I mean about that in just a second. I was at this VIP day with our mentor, and I sat there and actually said the words of hey, you saved my life. And I actually said the words, you saved my life. And it was no, we had the conversation later, and it was I was given tools to save my own life. Did she actually save my life? No. Did she give me the tools so that I could step up and I could step in my power and I could save my own damn life? You better fucking believe it. And she will always be somebody that I look to and that I'm learning from, because that's just what it is. It wasn't about she took my life into her own hands and she saved it. It's about I learned something from her so that I could save myself. So that being said, why I got so triggered is that I've actually been seeing this kind of popping up here and there in the space, where it's so in response to this crab bucket mentality of not wanting to pull people down, we really also need to be looking at how are we lifting women up? Are we trying to step in, be a savior, be a rescuer, treating essentially the other woman as a victim and completely unable to step in her own power and utilize her tools and be the person that she needs to be to stand up for herself? Are we taking the opportunity away from them to develop that, to step into that, and to be that by doing this? And my argument is 100% absolutely. We should not, for the most part, there are outstanding circumstances to everything, but as a general rule, if there is someone on a spiritual path and they're learning things and they're learning tools, they need to be empowered to step into themselves, to stand up for their selves. And if we are taking that opportunity away from them by trying to save them, that is a problem. And that is this sneaky part of the crab bucket mentality. Again, I need to reiterate, I'm not talking about extreme situations where necessarily there is abuse or somebody is homeless or something like that. There is an element of that's the bottom of the barrel, right? There's not even a foundation for that person to stand up on to be in their power, right? I'm not talking about those extreme situations. I am talking about people who have the knowledge, who are learning the knowledge and are having those opportunities taken away from them. They need to utilize their tools and stand up for themselves. We do not do anybody any favors by buying into the savior complex, by buying into our own martyrdom. Again, conditioning, particularly with women, that if we self-sacrifice enough, we can rescue other people. And it's really tightly linked to the savior complex of if we are able to, we should save. And that is not how we are supposed to, be going about this. My opinion, I know, but we do not serve. We do not serve others. We do not show, thank you, Ashley. We do not show ourselves love in the first place by being self-sacrificial for somebody else. We do not help somebody else by trying to save them. That doesn't work. It is our job as women to share the tools, share our messaging, share what we know, share our knowledge with other women about what has worked for us. It is never our job to either say there's only one way of going about it, and it is never our job to take matters into our own hands to be the savior for somebody else. I see that pop up all the time, and it's with the best intentions. I'm not actually saying anything negative about these people, but we need to do better. We as women need to do better, and we need to stand together, and we need to be truly lifting each other up. We're not in high school. It's not about, our planet right now is undergoing this huge change. It's undergoing this huge ascension right now, and it is essentially tearing apart the hierarchy. So it isn't about hierarchy, it's about collective, and it's about standing together, and it's about being together and actually supporting each other and giving each other tools to be in our integrity, to be in our power, to be in a state where we are conscious beings, where we are consciously creating not only our own lives, but we are consciously able to look at our part in everything. And we all get crowns. Absolutely, Ashley. Like, we all get crowns. We all get to have crowns, and that doesn't mean that we're ruling over other people or that there's a hierarchy in place necessarily. We just get to be sovereign rulers of ourselves. And when we buy into this conditioning, into this martyrdom conditioning, into the savior conditioning, we not only disempower ourselves, but we disempower others. There's a ripple effect that happens when we choose to step into those identities instead of stepping into us and who we are as individuals on this planet, and the work that we're supposed to do on this planet, that we are here to have a positive impact on this planet, right? And so back to the whole high school situation, it's like I see that there are kind of cliques that have formed. Like, people are supporting each other, and they're loving on each other's posts, and it's like, that's fantastic. But I would encourage anybody who feels like that maybe I'm speaking to them, I would encourage them to look at, is there any part of you, is there any part of the shadow, of your shadow, that is supporting these people with intent to harm others outside who are ancillary? I would encourage anybody who is operating within this programming right now to maybe shine the light on the shadow of that. Are you in the program, and are you consciously operating in the program because you think that eventually that's going to lead you to power? Well, I can tell you right now that that's not how this works. The programming is intended to keep us small, and it's intended to keep us tearing each other down. It's intended to keep the current hierarchy in place. It is not about personal empowerment. So anything that I'm sharing, any of my offerings, anything that I have been putting out there has been in with the intent of giving you the tools and helping people to learn how to apply the tools for themselves. It is always about self-empowerment for me. And it's always about empowering others to use the tools on themselves. And I feel so strongly that this is the direction that we need to be heading as a collective, as women, as human-ish type folks on this planet. All right. Okay. I have officially gotten fired up. I have officially delivered my message. Now it's time to actually go back through these comments. Beth Bray, if you are actually watching right now, you need to watch this from the beginning. Yep. Yeah, I was ready. I did not give anybody a chance to pop onto this live stream. Take applications. Yeah, being a savior and speaking for others and robbing them of their power. You know, again, like, if you're an activist for a cause, if you're like, you know, you're working for like a nonprofit or something like that, you know, obviously there is a certain, there's a certain advocacy for that particular thing because you're speaking for something that cannot speak for themselves. Like if you're an animal rights activist, if you're, you know, I would argue that our environment does speak to us. It just doesn't speak to us in words. But if like you're an environmental advocate, you know, like there are areas where that is appropriate. But as a general rule, that is not appropriate for anybody who's on a spiritual path, who's learning for themselves, who are consenting adults, who are adults, right? And Lauren, Lauren, I didn't mean like every situation. Again, I didn't mean every situation. I just meant that there are extreme circumstances where that might be appropriate, but it certainly should never ever be the norm. I had to apply this to saving you, boo boo. Yeah, and so the other reason that this is also coming up for me finally is that has been such a dynamic in this house between Beth and I, and it ended up being something that we recognize as being toxic towards one another, is that we were constantly like, if the other person was in the bad mood, the other person would try to be like trying to save them and rescue them out of it, and it's like that wasn't serving anybody. It serves me more for her to just hold space, let me be in whatever shitty mood that I'm in, and her not have to rescue me out of it, and her to not have to pull me out of it. And we don't ever have to do that. Again, if we are truly standing in our own power, when we're with our friends and they're upset about something, we get to be there and we get to hold them in a container and let them just be, instead of trying to fix. We don't need to fix it. We just need to let them and allow them to feel what they need to feel and do what they need to do. Well, of course you wrote a post about this yesterday, Kim Farber, because we're on the same wavelength. Beth Ray, I was scrolling through and you looked super mad. I wasn't mad. I was fired up, but I was not mad. Yeah. All right. Awesome. Okay. So, here's the thing. The other thing is that I have been able to see this in a really different way because of my work in the spiral. I've been able to see this empowerment, seeing empowerment as a thing that we are not doing through my work in the spiral, because it's enabled me to really look at my own shit. It's really enabled me to evolve and expand in this way and have myself in a sense of empowerment, and recognize when I'm not fully standing in my power, right? This work is no joke. This work works. And anybody who is called to the spiral, I feel like, needs to just go through the spiral. It's 7 levels, 22 of the most common human emotions. And when you clear out that emotional baggage and that emotional conditioning, you put yourself in a place where you have the power, your own inner power, to not buy into the fucking programming. You get to not buy into it because everything that you've been conditioned since you were a teeny tiny child gets to be wiped out, and you get to create what you want to create for yourself. And then you get to be the person who is also providing tools for other people to also stand into their power. I am really passionate about this work. Spiral is the most important and the best investment I ever made in myself. And anybody who is curious about this, please reach out to me. I'm happy to answer your questions. And I'm a spiral practitioner. I'm happy to take people through the spiral. But if we're not a good fit, I know plenty of other people who would be happy to also take you through. If you are interested in this work, please reach out to me. If you are interested in learning to really fully stand in your power and to be doing the things that you know that you're called to do in this life, but you're too afraid to do, go through the spiral and do this work, take the leap. So that's all I have. Please reach out to me. And I ultimately with this today, I just am encouraging you to really look at, how are you supporting the women in your life? How are you supporting yourself? What are the ways that, and again, the example I gave at the very beginning of this live stream seems very small, right? But it's in the small ways over the many relationships that we have that we give away our power. It's in those small ways that really deplete us. They really disempower us, and it seems like such a small thing. But if this small thing is coming to my attention, I'm like really being inspired to look at, well, what other ways am I giving away my power? So I would encourage each and every one of you on this live stream to look at the ways in which you are giving away your power. Because even the small ways are having an impact on you, whether you recognize it and realize it consciously or not. Shine the light on it, get clear about it, and then do something about it. So that's what I have for you. I feel a lot better. Thank you so much for listening. Go empower yourself and all that good stuff. Have a great rest of your day and all that stuff. And hi Val. I'll take a look at these comments after I pop off. But have a great one, and I'll talk to you soon. Mwah.